The protests against Israel are taking place on many college campuses. At Stanford University, a lecturer gave an alarming impromptu lesson. According to complaints, that instructor asked Jewish students to separate themselves from the rest of the class. That Stanford lecturer then referred to those Jewish students as colonizers. Today, Stanford University released this statement in response. It says in part, quote, "Academic freedom does not permit the identity-based targeting of students. The instructor in this case is not currently teaching while the university works to ascertain the facts of the situation," end of quote. All right, so let's go to the other side of the country, to Massachusetts, home of Harvard University. Yesterday, a truck pulled up to Harvard's campus. The truck was sent by the nonprofit organization Accuracy in Media. The truck displayed an LED billboard showing the names and faces of the Harvard students who this week signed the highly controversial pro-Palestine letter. The graphic on the side of the truck was titled, "Harvard's Leading Anti-Semites." Harvard Law School Professor Emeritus and author of the book Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law, Alan Dershowitz joins me. Good evening, Alan. I don't know. I mean, it's so horrifying to me. I don't know if I blame the parents of these kids because, I mean, they're pretty young. I mean, they're 18 to 22. They're pretty young. Or the faculty, many of whom are Jewish, or the administration, or social media. I mean, where's this hate coming from?
Well, it's coming from the same place it came from in 1937, 38, 39, when 35,000 Americans, young people, students, went to Madison Square Garden and supported Hitler's Nazi. They did Heil Hitler salutes and wore swastikas and supported Nazis. 100,000 of them marched in my neighborhood, right where I live now in Yorktown. You can't excuse them because they're young. These are our future leaders. Some of them now say they didn't read what they signed. Well, but they knew it was anti-Israel. That's why they signed it. And would you hire somebody to be your lawyer or admit them to graduate school if you knew they signed things without reading them? No, youth is no excuse. These kids are responsible for what they did. Their names should be made public. If they want to apologize, if they want to then explain that they didn't know what they were doing, stupidity has never been a criteria for being admitted to Harvard. And the idea that these people...
Well, okay. Well, how about the fact? I mean, okay. I get it on the young people. That's horrible. I mean, I get that on the young people. And how about Stanford lecturer saying, okay, the Jews, you go stand in one corner, or Harvard? I mean, and Harvard just burying its head in the sand, or my alma mater, the University of Wisconsin, or my other alma mater, Georgetown. I mean, I could keep rattling off these schools. The faculty isn't exactly standing up to them.
No, the faculty is part of the problem. Many of the faculty propagandize the students to dehumanize Jews and to dehumanize Israelis, and schools hired people. And remember, a lot of this started with the killing of George Floyd and what was called the reckoning that universities had, looking back at their history of racism. And they began to hire people like the Stanford professor and other people as part of the reckoning. Well, don't you think these events require a reckoning at Harvard, which has had a long history? It supported Nazis during the 1930s. It supported eugenics in the 1920s. It supported quotas against Jews and Catholics in the 1910s. I think a reckoning is now required by universities, and they should stop making them into propaganda mills where everything is based on intersectionality, everything is based on colonialism, on how Jews are the villains of the world. It's gone much too far. And I have to tell you now, many donors are stopping contributing to these elite universities. And I encourage them to stop contributing to these elite universities unless they do a reckoning, not only with their past and historical anti-Semitism, but with their current anti-Semitism, tolerance of the kind of double standard anti-Semitism. I have one rule for Harvard and anywhere else. Treat these people as if they supported the burning of a black church in which young black kids were murdered. Treat them as if they supported shooting up a gay bar. Treat them the same way, because that's what these kids are supporting. These are lynchings. 1,300 Israelis, Jewish Israelis, were lynched. And would you imagine any university supporting lynching? Well, you don't have to imagine it. These universities are essentially not attacking lynching. Even the president of Harvard would not condemn these students. And can you imagine what she would do if students had defended the burning of a black church or a gay church, there's no way in which the same standard would be applied. And Harvard and other schools must apply the same standard that they would apply to neo-Nazis, to racists, to advocates of rape, to advocates of lynching. Just because the victims are Jewish doesn't give you a pass.
Alan Dershowitz, thank you, sir.
Thank you.